Greetings everyone. Welcome to the lecture on development of education, science and technology in independent India. India was a land of sages and seers as well as a land of scholars and scientists. Science and technology as an integral part of the Indian culture has been enabling force behind the longevity of Indian civilization. It not only allowed to question natural landscape, natural phenomenon with a sense of inquiry, but also opened the gate to prosperity by helping society to lead a technologically driven life, whether it was in the field of agriculture or warfare or several crafts that were devised from time to time. Research has shown that from making the best steel in the world to teaching the world to count, India was actively contributing in the field of science and technology centuries long before modern laboratories were even set up. Many theories and techniques discovered by ancient Indians have created and strengthened the fundamentals of modern science and technology. The continuous march towards scientific advancement paralleled with the colonial age of continual struggle for power, resources and ideology. In the 19th century, the British education system aimed at producing able civil and administrative services candidates exposed some Indian scientific scholars to foreign institutions. Sir Jagdish Chandra Bose, Prafulla Chandra Ray, Satyendra Nath Bose, Meghnad Saha, P.C. Mahalanobis, C.V. Raman were among the notable scientists who had an exposure of Western science institutions. There was a vision of self-reliance even during the colonial times, which encouraged several Indian scientists and patriots to establish their own scientific institutions and industries, something that the colonial regime was not ready to do because they were interested only in exploiting Indian natural resources, Indian economy and also in reaping more and more profits out of their trading activities and later on out of the colonial rule that they had established from 1757 onwards in India. So, we have names like Dr. Mahendra Lal Sarkar, who established Indian Association for the Cultivation of Science as early as 1876, which was solely native and purely national institution, and Acharya P.C. Ray, who established the Bengal Chemical and Pharmaceutical Works in 1901. India has the second largest groups of scientists and engineers today in the world. And if we talk about the context of technological advancement or scientific advancement, Indian scientists have developed several projects and have helped in improving the lives of world population through their various discoveries and inventions. Scientific research conducted by Indian scientists has transformed the way the world works, lives, enjoys, gets healed and also in eradication of several lethal diseases. While some of these groundbreaking contributions have been acknowledged, some are still unknown to most as they have come from Indian scientists. Now, let us give a brief historical perspective to the development of science and technology from 1600 onwards. Of course, one can talk about several developments that were made during the medieval period, but here I would be limiting myself to the modern times So one can mention that how Sultan Hyder Ali of Mysore patronized the technology of rockets, though it was still at a very rudimentary stage. Then the extensive railway network which was established by Britishers in India, but again not with the aim to develop or modernize India judiciously, but in order to extract the resources, the raw materials from the interiors, and also to ensure that their finished products from the factories of England reached every nook and corner of India. Then Indian postal system, establishment of Calcutta, Madras and Bombay universities, then the creation of Indian Institution of Science by Jamshedji Tata were some of very important achievements. Then there were eminent scientists like J.C. Bose, Prafulla Chandra Ray, S.N. Bose, Meghnad Saha, P.C. Mahalanobis, C.V. Raman, S. Chandrasekhar, Homi Bhabha, S. Ramanujan, Vikram Sarabhai, Harish Chandra, Abdus Salam, Janki Amma and many more who contributed in no small means to attaining great achievements in the field of science and technology. If we talk about independent India and what were the developments that took place from 1947 onwards, then here one can refer to an article in Indian Constitution, Article 51A, which states that it is part of the fundamental duties of citizens to develop the scientific temper, humanism and the spirit of inquiry and reform. Also, there was establishment of several universities, IITs, in order to promote scientific thinking and higher education. A number of developments took place as a result of scientific developments and research that was going on in independent India. Here one can mention important developments that took place in the field of agriculture with the introduction of hybrid varieties of seeds which brought about green revolution, an initiative that was taken by M.S. Swaminathan. Then there was a huge boost that was given to edible oil manufacturing, milk production, white revolution, then the creation, construction of several projects like Bhakra Nangal Dam, Kaveri engine for Tejas light combat aircraft, Indian Space Research Organization DRDO, then several missiles, IRS, INSAT, then also establishment of Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, then a creation of Param supercomputer to name a few. And the list is of course endless. With the establishment of a 5-year plan system, again there was lot of prioritization that was given to scientific research and training. The Planning Commission in India was set up in 1950, especially with the idea to modernize the country and to plan in the key sectors of agriculture, industry, infrastructure creation, science, education, and in fact the first ever plan draft which was presented in July 1951 had a dedicated chapter itself on scientific and industrial research. Why was this projected as so important that a separate chapter was designated for this? Because unless and until country became self-reliant in scientific and industrial sector, it was not possible for it to modernize, or neither was it possible for it to create infrastructure. Being the first plan, it prioritized laying the foundation of scientific research in the country and largely focused on initiatives for building or enhancing national laboratories as well as research centers, where Indian students, scholars, researchers would get uh, an access and would also make full use of the available resources. So, it recognized 11 research institutes at the national level and stressed their importance in the development of the future of India. These included the National Physical Laboratory of India in Delhi, National Chemical Laboratory in Pune, Central Electrochemical Research Institute in Tamil Nadu, among others. Some of these institutes only had nucleus units and needed more investment for their expansion. The plan provided for the completion of buildings and installation of the essential equipment to enable the laboratories to function fully. It also proposed the setting up of 3 new institutes like Radio and Electronics Research Institute, Mechanical Engineering Research Institute, Central Salt Research Institute. From 1957 to 1967, there were some very important developments that took place, like lot of emphasis on agricultural research and with the aim of feeding the teeming millions, which resulted in Green Revolution. After independence, there was a need to cater to the rising demands of growing population. Research about the crop yield potential of land across the country, which had considerable regional diversity, then different irrigation systems, effective fertilizers, pesticides, power sources, agricultural equipment, all this was lacking. So, there was a lot of research that was required in these different arenas. So, therefore, government prioritized scientific research for advancing agriculture. This finally led to Green Revolution during this decade, and it enabled India's agrarian economy, which was on the brink of collapse in 1947, to improve steadily. This revolution made India self-reliant in grains, and in fact now there was production of surplus food grains. Then the decade from 1967 to 1977 can be described as one marked by Aryabhatta, which was India's first satellite and contribution to the science of space in world. And for this, Indian Space Research Organization, which had been established in 1969, continued to play a very important role in spearheading India's national space program. The first ever Indian satellite was Aryabhatta, which was designed and manufactured in India and was launched on 19th April 1975. ISRO developed Aryabhatta to execute X-ray astronomy, aeronomy as well as solar physics. Then the next decade, 1977 to 1987, was marked by Agni, which was India's strategic missile. India successfully developed strategic missile systems in 1980s with the successful testing of Agni in 1989. Eventually, Indian scientists were able to demonstrate abilities such as re-entry, maneuvering range, control, guidance, two-stage propulsion and stage separation also. Since then, India has created, tested, operationalized several missile systems. The Agni became a series of missiles, with the latest one being Agni 5th that had been tested in 2018. Now, if we talk about the decade from 1987 to 1997, then this decade was marked by DNA fingerprinting, which came into existence in 1988 when Council of Scientific and Industrial Research Center for Cellular and Molecular Biology scientists developed this technique and in fact made it available for use, making India the third country to develop its own DNA fingerprinting probe. From 2007 to 2017 can be considered as one marked by Chandrayaan-1 mission to the moon, which was India's first ever mission to the moon, which was launched on 22nd October 2008 from Sriharikota, Andhra Pradesh. And the spacecraft hovered around the moon to deliver chemical, photogeologic and mineralogical mapping to ISRO. India accounted for around 60% of the global cases of polio in 1994. So therefore, a dedicated campaign was launched to vaccinate every child by the government, and this resulted in India becoming a polio-free country within 2 decades. India received the polio-free certification also from WHO on 27th March 2014. This immunization drive was a success because of very strong policy and also due to the role played by committed healthcare professionals, frontline and community workers who were very well mobilized for this. A large part of this campaign was the education of those hesitant to get vaccinated in backward and rural areas of the country by increasing awareness about its safety and benefits. Then Mars Orbiter Mission, also known as Mangalyaan, which was again a historic first for India, its first ever interplanetary mission, and this marked India's place in the field of space exploration. Launched on 5th November 2013, MOM studied Mars topography, morphology, mineralogy as well as atmosphere. Mars Orbiter Mission, also known as Mangalyaan, definitely played a very important role in increasing prestige of India. Apart from the scientific breakthroughs, MOM was also appreciated world over because of its cost effectiveness. Now, the latest trend that one can talk about in the field of new age thinking and also related to economy is the encouragement of startups. The government launched the Startup India program on 16th January 2016 to develop an ecosystem to encourage indigenous scientific, technological and innovative development in India. As a result, by July 2021, there are more than 52,000 startups in the country, making India one of the largest startup ecosystems in the world, and this ecosystem is further expanding. These startups have resulted in creation of several lakhs of jobs. The top 10 sectors for startups in India are IT services, healthcare, life sciences, education, professional and commercial services, food and beverages, agriculture, finance technology, technology hardware, construction, green technology, and the limit is endless. There were also several developments that were made in the nuclear energy sector. So, if we talk about the decade of 1940s, then the nuclear energy program of India had its origin in 1944. It was Dr. Homi Bhabha who approached the Tata Trust, and with their financial support, TIFR was founded in Mumbai. TIFR later conducted a number of studies in the fields of physics, nuclear energy, cosmic rays, and in 1954 the Department of Atomic Energy was established by the Government of India. India successfully tested the first nuclear bomb in 1974 under the guidance of nuclear physicist Raja Ramanna at Pokhran. India had been suffering from electricity shortages, and to deal with this, more power had to be generated, especially as the population was growing. Energy supplies are being exhausted to satisfy current demand. We need to produce much more energy for a prosperous future, and electric energy can be generated from the heat generated by nuclear fission. For more advanced scientific research, with the help of Dr. Vikram Sarabhai, the Indian Space Research Organization had been set up in 1969. Aryabhat, which was the first Indian satellite, was launched by the Soviet Union in 1975. In recent times, ISRO has conducted successful space projects like Chandrayaan and Mangalyaan in 2008 and 2014, and several other projects like Chandrayaan 3 and Gaganyaan mission also have been there. Due to the initiation and vision of some great scientists and leaders, renowned institutes have been established in India, but today students passing from these institutes are migrating to foreign countries, and many Indian researchers are working with non-Indian research centers. This is clearly a case of drain of talent. If this process continues, this could prove to be a huge setback for the scientific development program in India. We are not far behind in terms of ability. If we take some visionary steps, then definitely one can get positive outcomes. The second 5-year plan emphasized that the most important single factor in promoting economic development is the country's readiness to apply modern science and technology. So, again we see that the second 5-year plan was rooted in the principles of application of modern science and technology. And in 1971, the Department of Science and Technology (DST) was set up specially to promote new areas of science and technology. Similarly, state councils of science and technology have also been established at the state levels. As part of the national policy, the government is promoting various research and development schemes to encourage scientific activities. Now we can take up the field of industry. It is in the field of industry that modern science technology made its earliest and most revolutionary impact. In India, the government has consistently tried to use modern science and technology for industrial development. Some important governmental organizations like CSIR, Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, and DRDO, Defense Research and Development Organization, have covered a huge range of science and technology related research for civil as well as defense purposes. A large number of items have emerged from CSIR laboratories for industrial production, like indigenous agricultural machinery, chemicals, drugs, pesticides, products in the field of food technology, furnished leather goods, glass, ceramics, color television, receiver sets, etc. And some missiles also are being developed, and some are being further developed with more sophisticated requirements. In the field of electronics, India has acquired the capability to produce a wide range of electronic goods, and even after independence, there was a lot of attention that was being paid in this sphere to manufacture electronic goods like radio, television sets, communication systems, broadcasting equipments, radars, nuclear reactors, power control systems and underwater systems. A large part of the components required for these are now being produced indigenously, while earlier they were being imported. The production of electronic goods has been growing at the rate of 18% per annum over the past decade. Today, in fact, India is also exporting electronic goods to different parts of the world. And there is also now an attempt to improve efficiency and to expand production. Major facilities that were developed include the Semiconductor Limited, Chandigarh, National Computer Center in Bombay, then National Information Center in New Delhi and a number of other regional computer centers that were developed from time to time. So, there has been no looking back in the field of science and technology after independence. Thank you.